SLT අලුත් මෙගාලයින් කනෙක්ෂන් වලට 50%ක දීවන. තවත් ඔෆර් ගැන දැනගන්න 122 අමතන්න.
Sliding discipline. Traffic-related accidents during the New Year season spikes. Unseen correlation. How does sustainable rural economic revival lead to preservation of New Year traditions?
It will probably reunite scattered communities and also, of course, to bring about social cohesion.
Subscription to a vision. China's Belt and Road Initiative draws overtures from the Prime Minister. The greatest comeback story in sports. Tiger Woods wins the thrilling Masters to claim the first major since 2008. All this and much more coming up on First at 9 this Monday, the 15th of April 2019.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
A very good evening and welcome to First at 9 on AdaDerana 24, Sri Lanka's news channel. I'm Katharina Chang. Now on to our top story tonight. President Maithripala Sirisena planted a sapling of a fruit tree at the auspicious time of 11:17 this morning. The custom was carried out at the president's official residence in Colombo. According to astrologers, the planting should be performed facing east while clad in white. In his New Year message yesterday, President Maithripala Sirisena urged all Sri Lankans to plant a sapling or a seed to fulfill one's responsibility to protect the environment and the future generation. Yesterday, millions of Sri Lankans celebrated the dawn of the Sinhala and Tamil New Year after much anticipation. For hundreds of years, the month of April brings about a wonderful festive spirit all across the nation which binds communities together. Over the past few decades, however, it has become evident that for most in society, the way the Sinhala and Tamil New Year is celebrated has changed given the busy lives we live and the family dynamics of modern-day society. Therefore, it begs to question whether the festive spirit that kept traditions and customs alive is as it was before, or has it deteriorated? We at First at 9 decided to delve into the very topic that has played a crucial role in our cultural identity.
On the 14th of April each year, millions of Sri Lankans gather in unison to celebrate the Sinhala and Tamil New Year, which marks the transition of the sun, turning from Pisces to Aries in the celestial sphere. Customary traditions practiced in the New Year had been central to the overall Sri Lankan cultural landscape for hundreds of years. Generations before us followed and believed in these traditions almost in a divine manner, fostering a strong sense of festive spirit in our society. However, over the past few decades, it is evident that tradition which gives the Sinhala and Tamil New Year its identity and its core is gradually losing hold on its citizens. It seems that given the busy and mobile lives, society as a whole is detaching itself from the traditional Sinhala and Tamil New Year and most importantly, its spirit. We asked Emeritus Professor Siri Hettige on the sociological background in this regard.
Some decades ago, a village environment where agriculture was the mainstay of the economy. Many people derived their livelihoods from agriculture and also, of course, various other economic activities like production of crops and things like that. But as we all know now, the agriculture has deteriorated. The people are not dependent entirely on agriculture, and even the physical environment in the village has changed. We have many people who might live partly in the village but work mostly in urban areas. And of course, we also have many people who have migrated to other countries. Not only internal migration, but also international migration has basically weakened the family institution. And of course, as a result, the village community has become more and more disorganized, if you like, and there are not many signs of cohesive village community anymore in many parts of the country.
However, as we know, traditions do not die easily and tend to persist even under difficult circumstances throughout time, creating a powerful connection between generations. They are embedded into our culture and identity which Sri Lankans are refusing to forget just yet. What can then be done to preserve the declining spirit of the Sinhala and Tamil New Year? Emeritus Professor Siri Hettige insists that the answer lies in revival of the rural economy, which in the past brought families and communities together.
We certainly have to see how best we could create livelihoods in the countryside using the natural resources that we have, in particular in the area of agricultural production. We have almost no agro-based industries to take away the surplus produced in the agricultural sector, and as a result, we don't create livelihoods around agriculture in this country based on agricultural raw materials. And of course, now we are faced with a major environmental crisis due to climate change, and we are supposed to pursue a sustainable path to economic development. We have to make sure that we produce raw materials that can help us produce a range of products to be sold both locally and maybe even internationally. If you go for that kind of sustainable program of economic revival in the countryside, you might probably be able to create some of the conditions that traditionally supported collective activities in the village, including the celebration of very important New Year festival. It will probably reunite scattered communities and also, of course, to bring about social cohesion among people who are today disorganized and atomized.
The Derana Dialogue 4G Rajarata Surya Mangalya, the Sinhala and Tamil New Year Festival organised by Derana together with Dialogue, was held at Galinbindunuvava today. The festival, which was telecast live on TV Derana, was a day full of fun and games.
The Derana Dialogue 4G Rajarata Surya Mangalya was held at the picturesque destination of Galinbindunuvava in Anuradhapura this morning. Prior to commencing the festival, a number of traditional customs were observed at the venue.
අපේ දේ රැකගෙන අලුත් දේ අරගෙන ඉතින් මේ අපේ දේ රැක ගන්න අවස්ථාව. ඉතින් අපි වසරෙන් වසර දෙරණ එකතු වෙලා කරන මහා අලුත් අවුරුදු උත්සවයේ එක ප්‍රදේශයක් තෝරගන්න. ඒ ප්‍රදේශයේ දේශපාලන අධිකාරියත් ඒ ප්‍රදේශයේ සිවිල් ජනතාවත් එකතු වෙලා සියලු දෙනාම එකට සතුටින් ඉන්න දවසක් අද.
The festival kicked off with marathons being held for both men and women. Another popular Sinhala and Tamil New Year activity is the cycle race, where men and women participated.
ඔවුන්ට ගමන් කිරීමට සිද්ධ වෙනවා. රජරට පුරවරේ බොහොම ශක්තිමත් තරුණයන් බොහෝ ප්‍රමාණයකුත් එකතු වෙලා ඉන්නවා. තරගය ආරම්භ වුණා.
People were seen flocking into the venue to celebrate the dawn of the New Year with TV Derana. The festival was comprised of a variety of games accompanied by prizes and surprises for all. The festival will also be followed by a musical show featuring many popular artists.
Now, our President Maithripala Sirisena yesterday urged all Sri Lankans to plant a sapling or a seed fulfills one responsibility to protect the environment. AdaDerana came across an inspirational individual who has grown 350 kumbuk trees on an abandoned plot of land at Akambura in Kandy. A barber by profession, W.G. Sirisena, who is responsible for this initiative, has now requested officials to take over the land and maintain it for the future generation.
The forest density in Sri Lanka, which was at 36% in 1990, has decreased by 29.7% within a period of 28 years. Negative impact of increased human activity deemed harmful to the environment are one of the main factors behind the decline in forest cover. W.G. Sirisena, who is a barber by profession and a resident of Ankumbura in Kandy, however, has taken matters to his own hands by growing a small forest of kumbuk trees on a land of 3 acres without seeking any personal gains. W.G. Sirisena commenced planting kumbuk saplings on an abandoned paddy field 19 years ago.
මට අවංකව මේක මොන ක්‍රමයකට ආවද කියලා මම දන්නේ නැහැ. මට හිතුණා මෙතන මේ වැඩේ කරන්න ඕනේ කියලා. ඊට පස්සේ මං අර මේ ගියපුවාම පැලගෙනලා හැදුවා. යාළුවෙක් එකතු කරගෙන ඒ යාළුවන්ගේ උදව් ඔක්කොම තිබුණා මට. මෙතන දැනට තියෙනවා 350. මේ තත්ත්වයට ගත්තේ කැපකිරීමක් කරපු හන්දා.
Kumbuk, which is scientifically known as Terminalia arjuna, is a valuable tree. The roots of the kumbuk tree is known to purify water and control soil erosion. Sirisena, who planted these trees, said that he wanted the Pujapitiya Pradeshya Sabha to take over this small forest and it be looked after by the authorities. He also said that numerous requests have been made to a number of officials over the matter, but to no avail, in a backdrop where villagers fear that the forest will be harmed by external parties.
On to other local news. According to the police headquarters, there is an increase in road accidents this New Year season compared to last year. Deputy Inspector General of Traffic Police for the Western Province, Ajit Rohan, has said that over 750 drunk drivers were arrested during the past 3 days under a special 10-day operation.
Yesterday, several motor accidents were reported between Galanigama and Kurundugaha Hatakma along the Southern Expressway. A passenger transport bus, 2 vans and 7 cars were damaged as a result. Meanwhile, a motorcycle collision left 3 persons injured at the Diganhalmillavava area in Kahatagas, Delhi. The injured are currently receiving treatment at the Anuradhapura Teaching Hospital. A family of 4 sustained severe injuries when the 3-wheeler which they were travelling in met with an accident in the Forest Creek area along the Hatton-Norelia road this morning. A 12-year-old succumbed to his injuries when the 3-wheeler he was travelling in fell off a precipice at the Hanguranketa area. According to police, the driver of the 3-wheeler, who was the child's father, was driving under the influence of alcohol. Another 2 individuals were admitted to the Colombo National Hospital after a van and a jeep collided at the Senanaga junction in Borella this morning. Police said that the accident occurred as the driver of the vehicle did not heed to traffic signals. Meanwhile, speaking to AdaDerana, Deputy Director of the Colombo General Hospital, Dr. Kumara Vikramasinghe, has said that there was an increase in accidents during the New Year season compared to last year. He said that 415 persons were admitted to the Colombo National Hospital on the 13th and 14th of this month. Last year, 390 patients were admitted to the National Hospital. He also added that the hospital received 172 outdoor patients during the said period last year, which was an increase of 203 patients this year. Meanwhile, DIG Traffic Western Province Ajit Rohan has said that the police arrested over 750 drunk drivers during last 3 days.
The operation in respect of drunk driving, we commenced on the 11th of April and the operation is being continued at the moment. So during period of 3 days, we have detected 700 cases in respect of drunk driving, and drunk drivers have been arrested and they have been produced in courts, and the vehicles that they have driven also have been taken into police custody. Especially tonight, tomorrow and till the 20th of April, we are implementing the operation in respect of road safety in order to apprehend drunk drivers and speeding driving, and in addition to that, neglectful and recklessness driving. and 25,000 breathalyzer instruments have been distributed to all police stations.
The Department of Meteorology says that many parts of the country will experience heavy rainfall of above 100 millimeters during the next 24 hours. Meanwhile, the Disaster Management Centre urged the public to take adequate precautions to minimize damages caused by lightning activity.
According to the Department of Meteorology, the possibility for evening thundershowers is forecast for most parts of the island tomorrow. Heavy falls of about 100 millimeters can be expected at some places in Sabaragamuwa, central, southern, Uber, western and northwestern provinces, as well as in Anuradhapura district, along with lightning. Meanwhile, due to evening thundershowers in the area of Pingwatta in Panadura yesterday, electric appliances at 5 houses and the police station in the area have been damaged. Meanwhile, speaking to First at 9, Assistant Director of Disaster Management Centre Pradeep Kodipilli urged the public to take adequate precautions to minimize damages caused by lightning activity.
Gusty winds up to 70 to 80 kilometers per hour also possible during thunder showers. So once lightning activities are placing on, people need to take the precautions, need to seek a shelter, preferably indoors and never under trees. Avoid open areas such as paddy fields, tea plantations and open water bodies during thunderstorms, and need to avoid using electric appliances and need to avoid using open vehicles such as bicycles and tractors and boats. Be very aware of fallen trees and power lines. If any cases are identified, that they can access via 117 call center number or connect with the district disaster management units or the Gram Dari and all the officials at the ground level, and the National Disaster Relief Services offices are located in all the divisional areas. Private situations still prevailing in the country. Several climatic conditions are happening in Sri Lanka at the moment. Disaster management units been updated with all of the information, and they have been deployed in 24/7 basis to serve any upcoming disaster situations.
In an interview with Chinese media outlet CCTV, Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe praised the One Belt One Road initiative. Dubbing it an innovative initiative, the Prime Minister went on to say that the BRI is creating an economic system helpful to Asia. In a recent interview with Chinese media outlet CCTV, Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe praised the China proposed Belt and Road Initiative and said China-assisted projects under the BRI, like the Colombo Port City project and the Hambantota International Port Development Project, have benefited the economy of Sri Lanka and the life of local people. The article went on to say that the Prime Minister noted he has seen more countries in favour of the BRI over the past years, as initiative linking existing land and maritime roads is helpful to development. Wickremesinghe called the initiative innovative and creates an economic system helpful to Asia. The Prime Minister also said that the government will participate in the second One Belt One Road Forum for International Cooperation, which will be held in Beijing late April. Meanwhile, Speaker of Parliament MP Karu Jayasuriya says that China has been involved in several development projects, especially in infrastructure, and the country is now opening up to the world as an ideal investment centre. Meanwhile, opposition leader Mahinda Rajapaksa insists that the changes of holding a provincial council election is now greater, given that many of the councils have been dissolved. The opposition leader expressed these views responding to questions by journalists raised in Tangor today.
Many came to wish opposition leader Mahinda Rajapaksa for the Sinhala and Tamil New Year at his residence in Tangor today.
රුපියල කඩා වැටිලා ඉවරයි. පොලි අනුපාතය වැඩි වෙලා ඉවරයි. වර්ධන වේගය නැවතිලා ඉවරයි. රටේ ආනයනය කරගන්න බැරි තත්ත්වයක් ඇති වෙලා තියෙනවා. ණය කන්දරාව වැඩි වෙලා තියෙනවා අහස උසට. ආයි කිසිදාක දැකපු නැති විදිහට ණය වැඩි වෙලා තියෙනවා. ඉතින් මේ ඔක්කොම සිදු වෙද්දී අන්තිමටම මේකේ පාපය විඳින්න වෙන්නේ අපේ රටේ ජනතාවට. දැන් මාර්ගල කතා වෙනවා. මේ ආණ්ඩුව වෙනසක් කරනවා කියලා.
ආණ්ඩුව වෙනසක් අදිරියේ වෙනවා. මං හිතන්නේ මාධ්‍යයට දැනෙනවනේ ඒක. ඉතින් ආණ්ඩුවේ වෙනසක් වෙන්නේ අද හෙට නිකන් මේ අර එහාට මෙහාට වෙන එකක් නෙවෙයි. මැතිවරණයක් තිබුව ගමන් හොදලම යන විදිහට ආණ්ඩුව වෙනස් වෙයි.
දැන් දහෝ පළාත් සභාව කිසිම කියන පළාත් සභාව දකින්නවත්.
ඒක තමයි ඇත්ත කතාව. දැන් තා එකයි තියෙන්නේ. කොළඹ මං හිතන්නේ 20 ගණන් වල විශේෂනවා. ඌව විතරක් ඉතුරු වෙනවා සැප්තැම්බර් ඉතුරු වෙනකම්. ඉතින් මැතිවරණයකට ඕන වෙලාවක තියන්න හැකියි. ආණ්ඩුවට උවමනාවක් තියෙනවා. නමුත් ආණ්ඩුව බයයි මැතිවරණයකට මුහුණ දෙන්න.
Well, we have more news on the other side, so make sure you stay tuned. We'll now cross over to a short commercial break.
You are watching Sri Lanka's #1 news channel. This is AdaDerana 24.
Oil prices halted their rally today with Brent futures falling below $71 per barrel on signals that Russia may exit production cuts. Losses were limited by a tightening of global supplies as output has fallen in Iran and Venezuela amid signs the United States will further toughen sanctions on those two OPEC producers.
Brent crude futures were at $70.95 a barrel today, down 60 cents or 0.85%, having hit their highest since 12th November on Friday at $71.87. US West Texas Intermediate crude futures were at $63.30 per barrel, down 59 cents or 0.93%. Pointing to differing signs from the United States and OPEC on future supply, oil analyst at Energy Aspects in Singapore, Virendra Chauhan said that oil will trade in a relatively tight band around $70 for the time being. The Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries and its allies meet in June to decide whether to continue withholding supply. OPEC, Russia and other producers are reducing output by 1.2 million barrels per day from 1st of January for 6 months. OPEC's de facto leader Saudi Arabia is considered keen to keep cutting, but sources within the group said it could raise output from July if disruptions continue elsewhere. Russian Finance Minister Anton Silvanov said over the weekend that Russia and OPEC may decide to boost production to fight for market share with the United States, but this would push oil as low as $40 per barrel. US energy companies last week increased the number of oil rigs operating for a second week in a row. On the bullish side, the head of Libya's National Oil Corp warned on Friday that renewed fighting could wipe out crude production in the country. Productions has been also falling steeply in Venezuela due to US sanctions. Iranian output is expected to suffer when the United States tightens sanctions on Tehran in May.
London's main index was dragged into the red today as oil majors weakened amid a dip in crude prices, offsetting gains in bank stocks, while office group IWG pushed mid-caps higher after divestiture plan for its Japan business. The FTSE 100 was 0.11% lower, while the FTSE 250 added 0.2% today. Shell and BP continued a 3-day losing streak following a dip in oil prices after a 5-month high in the previous session despite support from concerns over global supplies. Meanwhile, financials inched towards a 6-month high lifted higher by read across from upbeat results posted by US bellwether JP Morgan and Wells Fargo last week. Strong bank loan data from China also aided. Serviced office space provider IWG surged 20% to a 2-year high after plans to sell its Japanese operations for £320 million and a double upgrade from Credit Suisse on their stock. Mediterranean-focused engineering, oil and gas jumped over 10% to a record high after announcing new gas discovery at Karish North exploration well. Three people have died in a plane crash in Nepal at what is regarded as one of the world's most dangerous airports. The plane veered off the runway and hit a stationary helicopter at Lukla Airport, the main gateway to the Everest region. The runway is short and surrounded by mountains, making it extremely difficult for takeoff and landing. The pilot of the plane and 2 police officers standing near the helicopter died. 3 other people were injured. Both aircraft belonging to companies involved in taking climbers, tourists and locals to the Everest region. The reason for the accident is yet not clear. Pakistan released 100 Indian prisoners yesterday, all of them fishermen, from the jails in Karachi and sent them to Lahore, where they will be handed over to Indian authorities at Wagah border, the only land route between the neighbours. The second batch of prisoners is being released a week after Pakistan set free 100 fishermen on April 7th. Pakistan said that it would release 360 Indian prisoners in its jails in 4 batches as a goodwill gesture after nuclear-armed neighbors scaled back from a confrontation that prompted world powers to urge restraint. The fishermen were arrested on the charges of trespassing into Pakistan's waters. Due to the rocky relations between the two sides, prisoners who have completed their jail terms often languish in each other's jails for months, if not years afterwards. Sudanese protesters demanded freedom and justice yesterday after the Transitional Military Council promised to hand over power to a civilian government within 2 years. Outside of the Defense Ministry, several thousand demonstrators continued a sit-in just days after overthrowing long-ruling autocrat President Omar al-Bashir. While some protesters chanted and waved flags, others recorded signs of the protest movement, drawing women and doves on the nearby walls. A sit-in in the Sudanese capital, which began on the 6th of April, was the culmination of a protest movement that began nearly 4 months ago, triggered by a worsening economic crisis in the country. Meanwhile, Chinese authorities seized over 7,000 kilograms of smuggled ivory tusks last month, the biggest haul in recent years, as Beijing steps up a campaign against illegal wildlife trafficking. The Customs Administration said today the seizure came during an operation against an international criminal gang that has long been specializing in smuggling ivory. China, the world's largest importer and end user of elephant tusks, banned ivory sales in the country in 2017. Demand for ivory from Asian countries such as China and Vietnam, where it is turned into jewels and ornaments, has led to a surge in poaching across Africa. Since January, China has seized 8.48 tons of ivory and ivory products and more than 500 tons of endangered species. Well, we have sports news on the other side, and of course the win of Tiger Woods up next. We will make sure you bring you that, but make sure you stay tuned for more on the other side.
You are watching Sri Lanka's #1 news channel. This is AdaDerana 24.
Tiger Woods produced a scintillating finish to win a 5th Masters title and end an 11-year wait to claim a 15th major. Now, there were raucous celebrations around the 18th green as Woods finished with a 2 under par 70 to win on 13 under, 1 clear of fellow American Dustin Johnson, Xander Schauffele and Brooks Koepka. Victory caps a remarkable resurgence for Woods, who missed the 2016 and 2017 Masters with back problems before finally undergoing back fusion surgery in April of that same year. Woods, who had not clinched a major title in over 10 years, won by just 1 stroke on a day filled with wild swings in the leaderboard. World leaders and some of the most decorated sport figures alike flooded social media to congratulate Woods after he clinched his 5th Masters title. Moving on to some cricket, led by Virat Kohli, Indian cricket team's 15-man squad from ICC World Cup 2019 has been announced by the Board of Control for Cricket in India today. Virat Kohli and his men, who have been in sublime form in white ball cricket over the years, are one of the top contenders for the prestigious title. The Cricket World Cup will be played in England and is scheduled to kick off from the 30th of May. Vijay Shankar, KL Rahul, Dinesh Karthik and Ravindra Jadeja have made the cut, while Rishabh Pant and Ambati Rayudu missed out. Steve Smith and David Warner have been named in Australia's World Cup squad after serving year-long bans for ball tampering. Former captain Smith and vice-captain Warner were fined and banned for their roles in the incident during the 3rd test in South Africa in March 2018. Fellow batsman Cameron Bancroft, banned for 9 months, returned in December. Australia chairman of selectors Trevor Horn said Smith and Warner's return to cricket has been pleasing. They have played in this season's Indian Premier League from Rajasthan Royals and Sunrisers Hyderabad respectively. And with that, we conclude this edition of First at 9. Thank you for joining us and have a pleasant evening.